holiday time, and for most of us that means it's gift-giving time. And for those of you that garden, giving something from your own garden can be something really special to give to other people. But just giving them a fresh chunk of garlic may not be the choice. So we're going to look today at something you can do with garlic. We're going to make garlic jelly. And as my son panicked when I told him this is not the jelly that you put on a peanut butter sandwich and take to school lunch. This, in fact, is an ingredient that you would use either in a marinade, or you could brush it on roasted meat or grilled meat, and it's very special that way. As you can see, garlic jelly, it has a very beautiful color on its own. This has no added food coloring, and it just comes out really pretty, so that it's something that makes a nice holiday gift. Green is a traditional Christmassy type of color too. Now, the most tedious part of this is getting this into this stage. It has to be peeled, and it takes close to 3 cloves. You need 1/4 of a pound of peeled garlic cloves to start with. Now, one of the benefits of this type of jelly is that it enables you to preserve a fair amount of garlic without doing some things that are not safe. One of the things that folks often are doing right now is taking garlic like this and submerging it in either vegetable oil or olive oil, and that does preserve the length of time that the garlic will keep, but unfortunately it also can present you with a deadly gift or a deadly ingredient in the foods that you use. When the garlic is covered with oil, there's no air in the environment, and botulism can produce botulism toxin, so that you end up with something that could be very deadly. In order for garlic to preserve safely, it needs to be in the presence of an acidulant, which the commercial garlics are in, but most home people don't do that, or we don't do that at home. So what we're going to do is take our 1/4 of a pound of garlic cloves and put them in a blender or a food processor. Now, there are gadgets. This is the most tedious part of doing the process, I said, is getting the garlic peeled, and most of us use this, just a typical knife. However, there are special gadgets out there, and if you're going to be doing a lot of garlic, you may want to invest in something like this that may shorten your project time a little bit, or you may just get real good at it so it doesn't take you near as much time. Now, to this we're going to add 1/2 of a cup of vinegar, and the jelly, you'll notice, is not real clear like some of the traditional jellies we have, and that's because the garlic is actually in it. We're just going to basically purify it so that we get it to a stage where we can use it further on. Once you have your garlic pureed, you're going to add it to a saucepan. Now, the saucepan needs to be somewhere between 6 to 8 quarts in size, because jelly boils up or foams up as it cooks, and you want to make sure that you have enough room for that action to take place. I'm going to scrape this out, and I want to make sure I get out as much of the jelly or as much of the garlic puree as I can. So in addition to scraping that out, I'm going to take a little bit of the vinegar and rinse the container. Now, I'm adding vinegar that's 5% acidity. You need to make sure that you have that in order to make sure that you have a safe product. And it really doesn't make any difference which type of vinegar you use, as long as you make sure you're using one that's got the proper acidity to get not only a safe product, but to get a product that gels properly. I'm using a white vinegar. If you chose, you could use another color vinegar or another type of vinegar, but remember the color that we got on the gelled product. We want to make sure that we can get that nice light green color, and if you add yellow or if you add a red vinegar, then that's going to impact the color that you end up with later. This was pre-measured, by the way. It was 1.5 cups of vinegar. Now, to that, I'm going to add 5 cups of granulated sugar. Now, 5 cups sounds like a lot for jelly, but you must not reduce the amount, because the sugar is actually in there. It's going to help form the gel, and in addition to help forming the gel, it also is involved in making sure that the jelly is safe to use later on. It binds the water up so that the microorganisms can't use it, and that reduces your potential for mold. If you cut back on sugar, you increase the possibility that you get a product that won't gel, and even if it does gel, you have a real strong possibility that you'll have mold later on. So follow the directions closely when you're making jelly. It also can be beneficial because we need some evaporation to take place in order for the water to get concentrated down to the right level for the gel to form. It's kind of like making candy. If you have a sunny, clear day, you have a better chance of getting good results than you do if it's cloudy. So check the weather forecast as you plan your jelly making procedures. Now, one of the benefits of making this jelly at this time of year is that you have something that you make up fresh. A lot of times we don't think of the holidays when it's summertime, and so when it's time to give something for Christmas, we say, gee, I wish I would have made something, but garlic is available most of the year. It keeps fairly well, so you always have it available, and it's something you can make, and it's also something that's quite a bit different than what most people are going to expect for Christmas. As a result, you do need to tag the product that you give so that people know that it's not to be put on toast for breakfast. That would be rather an eye-opener for most of us. So make sure that you put a tag on it with some use suggestions so that they have an idea of what on earth to do with it. Nothing quite like getting something that you don't know what to do with. And this one you really can't take back to the store. This needs to come to a full rolling boil. When it does, we're going to add pectin to it. Now that it's boiling, we want to add the liquid pectin to it. You add that liquid pectin to it, bring it back to a boil if it goes down, and let it boil for 1 minute. Okay, after 1 minute, take it directly off the heat. Now you'll notice that there's a lot of white foam on here, and that's going to make your jelly look less than attractive. So what you need to do is take a metal spoon, and wood spoons won't work, plastic spoons won't work nearly as well, and just skim that off the top. Get off as much of it as you can, and you'd want to take off more than I'm going to do here for the purposes of saving a little bit of time. But you can see that you get a lot of this foam off there. Then you take hot sterilized jars, and these you can put in the water bath canner while you're doing the rest of it, and bring them out, sterilize them for 10 minutes in the boiling water bath. It's just a matter of putting them in the boiling water bath for those 10 minutes. And you fill the jars. Now it's important to fill the jars very full. Most of us don't fill them enough, but you want to fill it either to the 1/4 inch, somewhere between 1/4 inch and 1/8 inch mark, so that there's not very much air space that has to be taken care of as the jelly is in the water bath processor. Now it's important in Oklahoma, as the rest of the country, that we water bath process jelly. At this point, you want to wipe the surface of the rim to make sure there's no sugar on there, that it's clean. And then you take the flats that you've pre-treated according to manufacturer's directions. You get out one of the flats and lay that on there. Take a screw band and tighten it. Now you may need to use a pot holder, or a paper towel that's been folded or something in order to hold on to this jar, because it is very, very hot. You tighten that down to what's called firmly tight. You don't try and tighten it as much as you can. If you tighten it too much, you're very apt to get something that looks like the inside of cardboard that's very corrugated or wavy, or there may be crimps in the top of the flat, because as this is in the water bath processor, air needs to escape, and if it's tightened on too much, it can't, so it crinkles up the lid as it tries to do that. This then is going to get lowered into a water bath processor. You'd have all your jars ready. Gets lowered into the water bath, and you water bath it for 5 minutes after the water comes back to a boil. You need about 2 inches of water above the tops of the jars. Set it in a place where there's not going to be any breezes on it after it comes out, and at somewhere between 12 and 24 hours, check to make sure you have a seal. Then you can take the screw band off, wash the jars up well, and decorate them up however you want to for Christmas. This is a very nice Christmas gift. It's something a little bit unique, doesn't take much time, and I think that people, as long as you include the directions and they don't expect to eat it for lunch, they're going to find this to be something that's really something special from you for Christmas. For Oklahoma Gardening, this is Barbara Brown.
We hope you've enjoyed this classic from the Oklahoma Gardening Vault. Remember, even though these tips and techniques are timeless, there's always something new to learn in the world of gardening. By subscribing to both Oklahoma Gardening and OK Gardening Classics, you'll have access to a wealth of gardening knowledge, both classic and contemporary.